Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. And today we got an unpopular notes video. This is the most depraved cult leaders ever that I guess have been caught, because we got a bunch of cult leaders we could go after. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, need y'all hit the like button, hit subscribe button, comment your thing down below. Let's go.
What lures individuals into the grasp of cults and their manipulative leaders? Today we delve into 5 notorious cults, their leaders, and the tragic exploitation of their members. Despite facing unimaginable abuse, many remain loyal, challenging our preconceptions. Through online clips, courtroom footage, interviews, and body cam footage, we get a look into the minds and workings of these leaders and their victims. But how much can we learn? Keep watching, because you won't want to miss what we have coming next. FLDS leader Samuel Bateman. The Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is one with a bad name, one with a history earmarked by abuse and scandal. 12 years ago, Warren Jeffs was sentenced to a lifetime behind bars because of assault and abuse against minors. When Jeffs was sent to jail for tax evasion and fraud, Samuel Bateman stepped forward and a new era of abuse took hold. This self-proclaimed new prophet of the FLDS had roughly 50 followers and 20 wives, and more than half of that were underage.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
So you're under arrest for endangerment, okay?
Bateman is facing 51 federal charges after a raid on his Colorado City compound was conducted in September of 22. Not only was it revealed that these minors were forced and coerced in a marriage, but they were abused or forced to watch as others endured the same.
Federal court documents say Bateman is a leader in the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, or FLDS. The church, known for practicing polygamy, is an offshoot of the modern Latter-day Saints church.
His adult wives also face federal charges for their roles in the long-standing abuse and following complicitness. Once a long-standing supporter of Jeff's, Bateman suddenly took on delusions of grandeur, believing himself to be a very important man. This quickly alerted those who had seen the same in the former leader, like Brielle Decker, Jeff's 65th wife. He began the abuse with
My man's had 65, more than 65 This guy's insane. Truly insane, in true insane fashion. I've never been able to figure it out. Maybe I'm just stupid. It's possible. But I just can't figure out what a cult leader is able to do. How do these people exist that are this good at trash talking? Not even trash, this good at manipulation. This so wordly spoken that they are able to connect a group of people, and no matter what abuse they suffer, no matter how much they're abused physically, emotionally, sexually, no matter how ridiculous it sounds, he has somehow managed to convince all of them that he is some prophet, and they're able to convince them there's some prophet, and they're able to convince them that they're and everything, and I can't figure it out. I can't understand it. It's insanity.
than his own family, developing feelings for his 14-year-old daughter before his wife found out and removed her and their frightened daughter with a restraining order. It grew from there.
Good fucking move on her part.
Bateman had dozens of followers in the next 3 years, and his power within the FLDS grew. Until 2022, every attempt to save the girls from Bateman's abuse was for nothing, until officers were called in on reports of little fingers poking out from the top of a trailer.
Where are the hands? Let's see the hands.
Let's get that other door open.
There's hands sticking out of the top of the trailer.
Bateman was arrested for not cooperating with authorities.
What's your name?
Samuel.
Samuel what?
Do I have to tell you my name?
I'm asking for your name.
Yeah, I don't have to tell you, right?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
what is your name?
Samuel.
Samuel what?
Is he the driver?
Yeah.
Okay, you have to identify yourself. You understand that, right?
I don't know which one. Yeah, Samuel Bateman.
Samuel Bateman.
Meanwhile, the officers detailed the information they could gather, taking down the girls' ages ranging from 9 to the youngest.
14. How old are you? 11? How old are you? 12? You? How old are you? Why children are being transported in a vehicle? We're getting calls about hands sticking out of a vehicle.
The girls were coerced into these vulnerable positions and punished if they didn't treat Bateman as the prophet he believed he was.
There's a reason it's all women, right? Like, the reason there's women pretty much lead in there. Because you ain't gonna meet many... no, that's a lie. Never mind. I'm about to say you ain't gonna see many men positions. That's a bold-faced lie. I've seen some cults where it's both. And the men actually do this to the women. Sexually abuse them and all abuse them physically and all because the leader says... I don't understand. Cult leaders is a thing I don't think I'll ever fully understand. I don't think anyone can truly understand how they do what they do.
The Doomsday Cult of Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. Chad Daybell was an author who wrote apocalyptic fiction books. In and of themselves, they might not have been unique, but they certainly resonated with some, notably a woman named Lori Vallow. Lori poured through those books, something she'd enjoyed for quite some time before meeting Chad Daybell himself. Their relationship knit tightly, but the closer they got, the further their lives slid into chaos. Lori had begun to change. She grew distant from her husband, whom she began calling a demon, one she sought to destroy. Through her fears, she'd taken on delusions fueled by Daybell's fictions that she was a chosen one with powers.
Out of the house to say it, we're LDS. She thinks she's a resurrected being and a god, and remember the 144,000. Jesus is coming next year. She took all the money out of her bank account today. My truck had gone from the airport. She went to the airport and got it. I just flew in from Dallas. Houston and Dallas. So,
where's your truck?
I don't know. A friend of mine's truck to pick me up.
Her husband voiced concerns over his children's lives and his own, fearing that Lori had gone too far and was well past the point of no return.
Okay. So what makes her a danger to herself and to others?
She threatened me, murder me, kill me.
She threatened to murder you?
Yes. And she said,
how did she do that?
My bishop right there is in the car. She was on the phone with me today when she said, I will have you destroyed. That's what she said there.
Okay, that's not a threat to kill you.
Yesterday was a threat to kill me.
Okay. What did she say yesterday?
She said, you're not Charles. I don't know who you are, what you did with Charles, but I can murder you now with my powers.
Okay.
Okay?
Unfortunately, an altercation between himself and Lori's brother Alex would result in him losing his life, and the picture they painted was that of self-defense, a far cry from the soft-spoken, fearful man before.
Okay.
You would expect me to believe watching that this man went into a full-on rampage and just started... Yeah, okay. Now, listen, you are crazy woman. I'm sorry, but you're crazy. And I don't believe you or a thing you say. Your ass is crazy. And you need just to go to jail. I have no idea how this is a cult, because if it's just these two, that's not a cult. Under no circumstances is two people a cult. I refuse to allow them to be called that.
So this morning he comes back in and...
He comes back in, I wouldn't give him his phone. He was screaming at me to give him his phone. He was very worried about whatever was on his text that he did not want me to see. And so I was just holding it there, and he was screaming at me. And I was kind of walking towards around the house with it, so he couldn't get it. He's like reaching for it and stuff like that. He's yelling at Tylee, don't you touch me with that bat, and blah, blah, blah. And so Tylee, I guess, I don't know if she swung at him or what, but he like grabbed the bat from Tylee and then went to like hit Tylee with the bat. And I was right there, they were right there, and my brother grabbed him from behind, like just to stop him from hitting Tylee.
You go like this, like he grabbed him like...
Yeah, from behind, like just kind of to pull him back. Yeah, and then I was kind of turned around, and we were all right there in that room.
I don't believe a word this woman says. I couldn't believe her tongue was notarized. Pure lies.
Except for the kids had been outside by that time, and I heard the gunshot. And
so you heard the shot? Did you actually see the shot, or did you just hear it?
I had gone around to the kitchen to get away from him, and so back around. So I don't know if you went in the house.
I didn't, so I'm a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, so I didn't see the shot. I heard it, and then I came back around and I saw that he was on the ground.
The family, reeling from their father's sudden violent loss, moved to Idaho, much, much closer to where Chad Daybell himself lived. Meanwhile, Chad's life was taking a similar turn. His wife had fallen ill, resulting in her sudden death. They declined an autopsy. This was around the same time that Lori had taken on an odd turn of phrase, one that she'd picked up after her initial meeting with Chad Daybell. Suddenly, her children acted like zombies or being zombies and needed to disappear. Unbeknownst to anyone at the time, Lori's 16-year-old daughter Tylee would disappear on a trip to Yellowstone on September 8th, and by the 23rd of the month, her son JJ had to go away because he was acting like a zombie. Lori and Chad...
How has this woman lasted this long without... The moment you tell me, oh, your husband's died, both your children are gone, both her children... No, this girl's clearly up to something. This girl's clearly messed up in the head. This girl clearly needs to be arrested. Capture this girl.
Chad Daybell were off in Hawaii, getting married, when investigators looked into the boys' well-being and realized that Tylee too was missing. Upon approaching the couple at their Hawaii resort, neither one had much of a response to the missing children. No questions, no comments, nothing.
How's it going? Are you Kevin, Lord? Just about anything, sir. Do you have any questions regarding that? So it is 14:39 hours on January 25th. Any questions? You have any questions for that?
The fact that you don't have any questions, I know that they're evil. Both of them are evil. Pure evil. Nothing else, just pure evil. No other way to describe it.
No? Okay. All right, have a nice day. Have a nice day.
A national search was conducted, one that would exhume 2 small bodies from Chad Daybell's house.
A dig site that's so deep, they brought in a backhoe just to dig down. A dig site sits empty in Chad Daybell's yard at the end of a long day for law enforcement, where they made a massive discovery.
The two are being tried separately for their shared crimes. Chad won't be seen until 2024 as he waived his right to a speedy trial, whereas Lori did not. It's hard to know exactly what was going on behind the scenes, where the indoctrination ended and the religious anxiety began. Lori had long since been showing signs of her own dissent, but Chad's story is uncertain, shrouded in heavily guarded mystery until his trial next year.
Both of them get charged for both murders of children who did not deserve any punishment. They did nothing but love their mother, love their father, and both of them got punished because their mom went some dark path of religious bullshit and just lost the fucking path, lost the fucking plot, and got herself with a guy who lost the plot a long fucking time ago, clearly.
Sarah Lawrence sex cult leader Larry Ray.
Oh, the reason I also say he lost the plot a long time ago, because I bet if you exhumed her, if you could, I don't know if you can, but I bet if they exhumed his wife's body, who fell ill, and they looked into that, I bet you there's something fucking up there.
What leads a man who'd once been instrumental in fighting corruption and ending violence in his career down a dark path? Lawrence Ray was a man from Brooklyn who had worked on Wall Street for years. While life hadn't always been perfect for Larry, no one could have seen what was coming, nor where it would lead. 13 years ago, he moved into his daughter Talia's dorm at Sarah Lawrence. He was soon introduced to her friends, teens with bright futures ahead of them. For the next decade, slowly but surely, Ray would ingratiate himself into a level of control and power altogether unheard of.
Why didn't you leave? I was so scared. He wouldn't let me sleep. He controlled what I was eating. He would yell at me. He would beat me. He took away everything that made me me.
For the next...
That's what I'm saying. How does this guy have the ability to do that to a bunch of... They're in college people. No one else. These ain't young children. These are college people. Yet this guy was able to control them to such a degree. They feared him to such an insane degree. They just allowed him to control every fiber of their life. Like, how does that happen? How does he get in the head like that? Because to me, I would never feel a man would take a life until I saw him do it with my own eyes, like for a leader. If I don't see that cult leader take a life in front of my eyes, I don't believe he ever could. So the fear wouldn't be fully there just by a threat. Maybe that's a stupid thought process. It's just the way my brain works.
Decade, he'd used threats, violence, and psychological abuse to control and destroy the lives of these young adults. He exploited, terrorized, and tortured them, breaking their free will over time until they'd do anything for him to please him.
People find themselves in abusive relationships, and I was convinced that if I was uncomfortable, if something felt bad to me, that was because of something that was wrong with me.
He was convicted on 15 counts, which included extortion, sex trafficking, and racketeering conspiracy.
I'm telling you something, he might be funny thing. I'd beat the shit out of him. Me and him would not work. They would make the entire friend group not trust thing, because I would be the one guy that they would not work with.
He forced some of them into prostitution, deprived them of sleep and other base-level needs, and recorded coerced false confessions from each to crimes they hadn't committed. All for the sake of power and control.
What were you feeling in that moment?
I don't remember. I've blocked it out, and there's so many holes in my memory. But it's hard for me to watch.
So he somehow made them confess to crimes they didn't commit, probably to hold over their heads. So if they tried to leave his thing, he would threaten to go to police with it. That's fucking insane.
It's like, wow, that's horrible what he's doing to her, but it's she, not me.
But how does one go from an upstanding citizen to a cruel monster? He was diagnosed with a histrionic and narcissistic personality disorder. During his custody battle, it was claimed that the man could control and
To actually have a narcissistic disorder, it was like you're just a narcissist. Narcissist, as Bobby Heaney would say, or WWF. That's insane. That's a thing where you're... Oh, that would be a disorder I wouldn't know how to react to if I got, because it wouldn't be like a... It's not nothing that's gonna make you kill you or anything. It's just one where it's just a weird disorder to have, because you're just a arrogant, selfish little
manipulate just about any situation he was in, which consequentially included a psychological interview with a forensic examiner. He was said to be utterly charming, with a childlike simplicity and smile that could disarm anyone.
I want to go to the bed. I want to go to the bed.
The footage shown in court is disturbing. A man in complete power over his cult followers, abusing them, assaulting them, forcing them into positions of discomfort and subservience. He's a man who had no issue getting precisely what he wanted from others. He's a man who thrived on that level of attention and devotion and would love bomb his victims, deprive them of sleep, and tell them stories to rewrite their childhoods. He framed them as victims and him as their savior. These were young, vulnerable people, feeling disarmed by a charming, sweet man who spoke confidently, only to have their lives and futures ruined.
I can't... No, see, they are victims, 100%. But I can't... These are people in their 20s. Because I'm pretty sure you don't get it. There are people who know enough that should not be able to have this much control done on them. It's a certain power that I just don't know how he got.
And then taken away.
At what point did you decide enough?
I didn't. The FBI came. The FBI came and arrested him, thankfully. It took them coming to get him for me to be able to even consider having a life again.
Paul Mackenzie, the Good News International Church starvation cult in Kenya. Seeking absolute...
Did you just say starvation cult? There's a starvation cult? What?
Solution for crimes or beliefs can push people over the edge. Whether it's a lifestyle choice or an obsessive idea, people are vulnerable to these manipulative people worldwide. Cult leaders are known to exert power over their followers, either in their beliefs or to see how far they can push people. It's often about control, feeling powerful above all else, and often can prove dangerous or even fatal for those caught in the crossfires.
Anti yangu alianza kuchuilisha na hilo kanisa, ndo akachukuliwa huko akapelekwa huko porini. Ndo alipotoka porini, ndo akaiba watoto akaenda nao porini pia. Akarudi akapigia anti yangu simu, akamwambia kuwa waende huko porini wamsubirie. Tumetafuta kama kwa muda wa miezi 6, tuka give up. Tukaona kana kwamba hatuwezi wapata, kama tukienda huku na huku hakuna mwelekeo. Hadi sasa ndo tumepata mwelekeo, tunaweza jua kabisa wanaweza tolewa mahali wako kama nuko porini, lakini hatujui kama walikufa ama wako hai.
With more than 100 dead followers and 400 still missing, Mackenzie coerced his followers into following him, joining his congregation of the Good News International Church. As told by former members and their families, he predicted that the world would end on April 15th and that they should kill themselves first to be among the first to enter heaven.
Sahi venye nilisikia watoto wanapatikana huku Mombasa, mimi pia nimesema nikuje nitafute mtoto wangu, labda mtu alimleta huku juu ni bagi lirudi nyumbani, lakini mtoto mwenyewe sijai muona toka hiyo ile Desemba ilitoka tarehe 6 Desemba mpaka leo. Sijui mtoto wangu ako mzima ama ako pande gani.
With a high death toll, it's assumed that Paul Mackenzie was able to gain the trust and end the lives of many of his followers and their families, tearing communities and networks apart with tales of doom and an impending end of everything.
His actions led to the death of dozens of people, including children.
This wasn't the first time Paul Mackenzie was arrested on similar charges. Unfortunately, nothing before has stuck. Authorities in Kenya are working hard to collect hard evidence. Meanwhile, Mackenzie himself has mainly stayed quiet about his part in all this.
Mackenzie was arrested twice before on similar charges, but was released on bail. Authorities are currently exhuming bodies and conducting forensic testing to make sure charges stick this time around. For many, the case is emblematic of the Christian-majority country's broader inability to address religious radicalization.
With only second-hand accounts and an unclear motive outside of power, we're left wondering, what was the actual end goal? Why build a cult following only to have them all kill themselves? Authorities are left searching for a way or a clear path to end religious corruption and help stop.
I think in his case, he just wanted the power of knowing he caused their death. I bet to him it had nothing else to do but that. He wanted to know, in his mind, he caused the death. He controls life or death for hundreds and hundreds of people. That's all. That is what my guess of this is.
Radicalization much like this, but it's not that simple.
You can't have people who just wake up one day in the name of a calling to, drive people on a suicide path. Every church, every mosque, every temple and synagogue must belong to a registered, structured framework.
Investigations into the scale of Mackenzie's alleged crimes are ongoing. And on Thursday, officials arrested another preacher.
Another creature? Another creature? That's one way to describe that.
Keith Rainier, the NXIVM JNS cult leader. When seeking help, people turn to others who seem more capable or more practiced. Keith Rainier had a way with people and a way with words that would captivate those listening to him. In '98, he founded NXIVM with Nancy Salzman, also known as JNS, reeling from a previous period scheme allegation. The duo would run development seminars, believing they could aid people with the concept that the destruction of one's enemies increased one's own power. Listening to him speak feels like listening to a non-stop run of business speak. The power of saying a lot without actually saying anything. The thing about this kind of business speak is it's hypnotic. People who go to these trainings are looking for help, looking for guidance. They miss the part where you need to know not everyone has your best interests at heart.
Could you tell us about your ideas for this education for a new earth?
Oh, that's interesting. Children need to become adults. That is, in our bodies, they're mature. We can breed, we can go out and produce, we can sustain ourselves. But then there's another stage of upbringing, of education that must happen, taking adults to become humanitarian adults. ecological adults, adults that can understand the nature of being on a planet, being in an environment with many, many people and many, many different types, and the basic practices of how to do that.
Keith believed that he was special and should be followed and even worshipped by the masses. People would pay into his lies and manipulation and look over his abuses because they believed he was the one who thought they were special. Every part of Keith Rainier's persona was a facade, from staged interviews to carefully crafted empty thought pieces to make himself seem intelligent and worth following.
So for me, it's like the most important thing for an artist to understand how to do is tap into authenticity and then share with the world that experience so that other people can feel that too.
You know, it's interesting, our senses, as we improve them, we sense authenticity and creativity on subtler and subtler levels. You know, one might say if you believe that there's an essential creativity that's within the fabric of the universe, or a type of micro uncertainty, when you get very proficient at something, you start to make distinctions that bring an individual's nature into whatever they do.
He created something to bring in as many people as possible, bringing in celebrities like Allison Mack to help recruit new people to his flock, no matter what those people might face under Keith's guidance.
When I first came to ESP, I had on the surface something that seemed to be like the perfect life or a pretty good life. Like superficially, materialistically, I was very successful.
Keith now faces 120 years in prison and nearly $2 million in fines. But how does someone get people under their thumb to the extent that Keith Rainier did? He promised trade secrets, happiness and fulfillment, ingratiated himself in their lives, love-bombed and nurtured their connection. He made them feel good and people bent backwards to follow him.
Let's go in the car. We're gonna follow them. Get out of the way. Huh? Lauren's coming. Let's go, you guys.
Decades of his work behind the scenes, NXIVM had 700 members at its height, including wealthy and celebrity followers. He's been called a cult leader of sorts by experts on cults and mental health. He's a cult leader who manipulates and exerts direct coercive control over his followers. He made them believe in him above any higher power or logic. More than 100 victim impact statements detailed the harm caused by Rainier, including exploitation of minors, sex trafficking, wire fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy to commit forced labor.
I think even worse than the pain was finding out what the brand really was.
What was the brand?
Well, ultimately we found out that the brand was Keith Rainier's initials, but for a very long time we were told that it was a symbol of the elements, and that was another major lie that was told from the top down.
Some of the women in his cult were manipulated into doing things no rational person would. He would brand them or have them take incriminating photos, all under the guise of helping them through their own lives, or even under the guise of butchered feminism, as some ex-members claimed.
If we took these photos, if we pushed back on fears that we had or vulnerabilities that we felt, that we would have some kind of freedom on the other end. Like we would be then magically without insecurity or something. And I wanted to believe that, because I wanted to believe that what I was doing was good for me, because I had been there for years and I had been conditioned to think that way. And it's hard. It's hard to look at your life and question your decisions, because you have to see the things that you've done that are painful and not good.
These people believed in him. People who had lives outside and would give it all up just to feel special, leaving them vulnerable to a man like Keith Rainier.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this reaction video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe button. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you all for the next one.